everybody, very welcome to yet another live stream here on the Mentour Pilot channel. As always, I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. So, like I wrote on Facebook and on Instagram, and I think on Twitter as well, today I'm going to do a normal standard live with you guys, which means that you guys get to ask the questions, I get to hopefully give you some answers to it. And the reason for that was that I've realized that I've done kind of like 6, I think, consecutive interviews now. And in some cases, you guys, maybe you want to just talk to me, hang out with me a little bit. So that's why I'm sorry, by the way, that I'm a little bit late. I got myself a cup of coffee because the way that I want you guys to view these live sessions is like you having a cup of Joe, a cup of Java together with a good friend of you who's just as obsessed about aviation as you guys are. That's how I feel about these live streams. And this is how, how much I like them, So the way that this works, as always, guys, is that I will be taking questions from wherever I see them. Anytime that I see and wait a little bit. Patchy wants to say hello as well. Wait, Patchy. He's crying. As long as he's not on screen, he's constantly crying. So if you hear something in the background, that is not me being sad. It is Patchy. If he's not on top of me in my lap, he's not happy. Oh, aren't you good boy? What do you think about his haircut, by the way? I think we went to the same hairdresser, him and me. And by the way, guys, I hope that the audio is working better today, that you don't hear those clicking sounds or anything. So, like I was saying, guys, if you have a question out there, you can just use the normal chat. Just fire away your questions, whatever. I'm going to try to catch them if I can. But if you have something that you feel is really, really, really important that you really want me to discuss, well, in that case, use the super chat function. That's the little $sign. I always mention that. And it means that you are contributing, you're supporting the channel a little bit, which I highly appreciate now. And it means that it highlights the question for me. So, for example, I have already got 3 super chat questions here that I'm going to start off with. And if you have another super chat question, something that you want me to take up, then keep firing them. All right. I'm going to answer every single one of these super chat questions. If it takes me 2 hours, so be it. When I'm starting to run out of voice, well, then I will just tell you guys to stop sending in any, and we'll just finish off the last couple of them. All right. So that's how it will work. I will also stop now and then to get a sip of coffee, which I hope you don't mind. I still haven't got my Mentor cup, by the way. I've ordered one of those from Teespring, but instead of sending me a Mentor cup, they sent me a Glory Hunter cup. So I have a Glory Hunter cup sitting out here in my cupboard now, which I didn't want. I don't even know what the Glory Hunter brand is, but anyway, I thought it was kind of cool anyway, so I use that for my morning coffee now. Oh, by the way, guys, I hope that you're all having a positive attitude, because that's what this is all about. I'm actually starting to feel a little bit positive. I know that sounds crazy to hear, but there's a lot of crazy shit going on at the moment. A lot of bad news being pumped up constantly. And I know that you guys hear that as much as I do. But I have a feeling that this might actually be all right. Like, I think that we are going to be a lot of people that are going to lose their jobs, but I think that the industry is going to start rebounding quicker than what the worst prognoses were. I don't have any facts and science to base that on or back it up with. It's just a feeling that I have, and I tend to trust my gut feeling, especially when it comes to these things, especially if it makes me more happy. Because that's what I feel now. Like, I'm tired of being worried. I'm tired of being constantly thinking about what the worst case scenario is. And I think you guys need to do what I talked about in my crisis management video, which is use PIOSE, use all of this decision-making skills that I've been teaching you. But above all, keep a happy and a positive and a constructive mind. Do not get yourself bogged down in the negative thoughts and stuff, because the fact is that it won't help. The only thing it will do, it will raise your anxiety levels. It will stop you from being creative, and that's not what you guys want to do. So, focus on the good things, plan for the bad things, but keep your anxiety down. All right, that's a really important message that I want to give to all of you guys. And we're going to be talking about things like how to be resilient, how you guys should be thinking now, especially if you're in flight training. I'm guessing there's going to be some questions about that later on. I'd love to speak to you about that. But for now, I want to head on with the super chat questions. So Will Engel is my first on the super chat. Will, first of all, it is so great to have you here. I wish I don't know if I have you on Skype, do I? If I do, then maybe I'll call you up actually and have you as part of the live, because Will is one of my patrons. I have a few really dedicated patrons. I have many of them who are like passive in the background, who help supporting the channel, and I'm hugely thankful for that. But then I have a few ones that are really active and comes with suggestions and comes with really nice stories about their fantastic aviation background and what they're doing in their life right now. And Will is one of those. All right, so it's so great to have you here, Will. If you have me on Skype, I can't remember if I've added you, then send me a message on Skype, all right? And I'll try to add you on later on during the live stream. Maybe we can have like a spontaneous little powwow here in front of all the other people. So Will is saying, just a huge thank you and to the Mentour Aviation channel for giving pilots and those wanting to enter the field a sounding board that allows them the opportunity to find relevant answers to questions. Will, I can't tell you how happy I am to hear you say that, because this is exactly what I wanted to try to achieve with the channel. Obviously, I'm not claiming to have all of the answers. No one can claim to have that. And by the way, I have 737 watchers now. Oh, that's 740 anyway. No, I can't. No one can claim to have all of the answers. And the only thing that I can do is try to give my view on things and my opinion of what's going on, and I can base whatever I'm saying on the experience that I've gotten over my almost 19 years of flying 737 in this industry, in the European industry. But I really love that you guys feel that you can connect to me and that you can use the Mentour Aviation app, for example, and the forums in there and talk to each other. I was speaking to an app expert that's helping me a little bit with my social media at the moment. And he said that he was using the Mentour Aviation app throughout his PPL training to get answers to these little small questions that maybe you don't want to go to your flight instructor about, but you want to talk to someone about. That's exactly what I want to try to achieve. So it makes me really happy to hear that that's how you guys are seeing this. And once again, a huge thank you to my Patron crew out there. You guys, like, for example, the video that I did yesterday, that's a great example. So we had that horrific incident that happened in Austin, Texas, where a Southwest Boeing 737-700 landed and hit a man that was standing on the runway. Okay. Now, obviously, that's a very sensitive subject to take up. But I felt that as I was reading about this incident, it obviously got a lot of attention in the press. There was a lot of misconceived ideas about what pilots can and cannot do. So I created this video, right? I sat down yesterday and I did a video and I edited the video yesterday. Those kind of videos, if you do videos about tragedies, for example, they very quickly become demonetized by YouTube. And I can't ask any of my sponsors for the channel to sponsor a video like that. So it will probably be just a pro bono video, right? That would be the case if it wasn't for the fact that I have my Patron crew. My Patron crew are out there and they are providing a monthly support to the channel. And the bigger my Patron crew becomes, the more of those type of videos I can do, because it doesn't matter that I don't get anything from YouTube or that I don't have a sponsor on those videos. I have something that will support my family throughout this time anyway. And that is largely up to my Patron crew. So I am so grateful to you guys. And if you feel like you want to take part in my Patron crew and preview my videos and be part of that community, well, then there's a link here in the description of the video that you can hook up. It's just patreon.com/mentorpilot, and you can come in, you can support with as little or as much as you like. Doesn't matter. If you do, you will get, anyone gets become a member in my Discord server. So that's kind of like the internal communication mechanism that we have for my patrons, that you guys can talk to each other and to me. And then if you go in at the $10 per month level, then you also get premium membership inside of the Mentour Aviation app. You just have to send me a message with your nickname in the app, and I will get that sorted. So thank you, Will. Anna, great to have you here as well, Dee. Dee is another one who's very active on the channel, which I'm really happy to see. Thank you for your video on the Southwest incident. If a crew has been through accident or a crash, what screening and treatment do they have to ensure that they are psychologically fit to resume duty? Okay, so that depends a little bit. First of all, it's a great question. It depends a little bit on the severity of the incident and how the individuals feel. So, for example, a major incident that requires that involves loss of life of maybe crew members or passengers or something like that. In those cases, they will certainly be stood down completely. That's until there's a proper investigation of what's happened, and also until they can be deemed fit by an AME, air medical examiner, and it could also involve a psychiatrist or a psychologist to help them. They will get help by a crisis team, and I'm sure that the guys in Southwest will have access to that crisis team as well. But then in a case like that, where it's a horrible tragedy, obviously, but they probably didn't see or feel much more than that they saw a person go by and then they were informed of what happened. It's going to be a lot up to the crew whether or not they want to avail of that kind of services or not. And I don't think that they will be stood down. I think that they will be maybe given a few days off, and then providing that they feel happy about it, they will go back into operation again. So, but crisis management and crisis services are always available for flight crew and cabin crew if they need it when something happens like that. Great question. Joe Perkins. Joe, here's another one. My stars are here today. So Joe helped me a lot with the music. You might have heard the jingle that I have on the channel, especially towards the end. That's Joe's at work. He's a magician. You should check out his YouTube channel, by the way. With lockdowns, we've seen wild animals in empty streets. Could we see a temporary increase in bird strikes once closed airports reopen? It's a possibility, absolutely. That depends a little bit on how much work has been done around the airport during this time. Because, for example, we tend to have farmers that are out cutting the grass closest to the runway to make sure that it doesn't go into high grass, so that there's a possibility of a lot of bird activity. If that hasn't been done, then that's a risk factor. But I think there's the overall increase in animal activity, as in there's going to be much more worm, like snakes. There's going to be much more rats, things like that, because we're just not killing them off and we're not driving them over with cars and stuff. And whenever there's more food, there's going to be more predators. So the larger birds are probably going to become a bigger threat, at least initially. And this is, whenever humans retract out of view, as you can see, nature instantly takes over. So it's a good point. I think that there probably will be more bird strikes for the first few months once we're back flying again. I haven't even thought of that myself, but that is a very, very good point. So I'm so behind on super chat questions here, guys. I'm gonna try to get to the bottom of them as quickly as I can here. Hi, Peter. What caused the F751 crash? Great channel. Now I'm gonna have to check out which one that is. What's that? Flight 751 crash. Because I don't know them all by heart, you know. So flight 751 crash. Oh, Gottröra. Okay. Scandinavian flight 751. Yeah, so this was an icing incident. This is one of the reasons what I've been talking about on my channel, how important it is to make sure that the aircraft is properly de-iced. So in this incident, this was an MD-81, I think, or an MD-80 that took off from Arlanda Airport in Stockholm. And just after departure, there was some ice that broke off from the wings and got sucked into both engines. All right, which is the worst case scenario. One engine immediately flamed out. And the other engine had a system on board that was designed to, if it felt like there was a drop of thrust on one engine, there was a compensating system on that side, on the other side, I mean, that was supposed to increase thrust when it felt that the thrust decreased on the other side. Now, the pilots were not aware that this system was there. Like, they have been recently type trained on that particular model. They weren't fully, understood with how that system worked. So it had already gotten a damage on that engine. And when the thrust then suddenly increased automatically without the pilot's input, it finally just destroyed the second engine as well. So there they were, just after departure, fairly low altitude, no working engines. And there was another traveling pilot that was sitting in the back that heard that this happened, who ran into the cockpit. This was before the locked cockpit door, and helped the pilots out by basically, he had built up a checklist. This was incredible. He had, on his spare time, built up a checklist for exactly loss of thrust on both engines, because there was no checklist for that before this incident on that type. So when it happened on board, the pilots didn't know exactly what to do. And this dude that came in, who was also a pilot, had made a checklist for it. So he started going through that checklist while the other pilots, the flying pilots, started looking for a place to put the aircraft down on. They found a field. They never managed to regain any engine thrust, by the way. They found a field and they set it down. The aircraft broke into 3 pieces, but like a miracle, no one was killed. I think there was one woman who got some quite severe back injuries from it, but the crew survived, the passengers survived. And in fact, like, there was some crazy scenes happening after that, where some of the passengers just walked out of the crashed aircraft and went into a neighbor's house to ask for the phone, to ask for a taxi to get back to the airport to fly to their destination again, which just says a little bit about how humans react when they're under shock, I guess. But this is that flight is something that we look at as a case study when it comes to de-icing, especially when you have back-mounted engines. It's a bit huge. It's actually not the first time that happened. It happened down in Turin, on a very, very similar way, but they managed to land that aircraft. So yeah, that's a great one. Now, that was way too long of an answer for so many super chat questions left. Guys, I hope you have your cup of coffee as well, so you can have a sip, eh? Oh, coffee. I can't believe they're selling it. Anyway, Robert Mendes, another face that I recognize. Robert, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Yeah, we celebrated that last week here, but that's true. That's true. In some parts of the world, they do celebrate Mother's Day today. Sandra, happy Mother's Day for a second time, eh? Yeah, there's no present. Polostoya Parek, can you explain the procedures for an overweight landing? Yeah, it's very straightforward. An overweight landing is just like a normal landing. You would do an overweight landing if you need to. So, for example, you have an uncontained fire on board, engine fires, or you believe that you're about to lose thrust on both engines, or there's something else that's life-threatening. In that case, we are on the 737. You can land overweight pretty much as you like. You just do a nice normal landing. Obviously, try not to set it down too hard if you don't have to. And then once you've done the normal landing and you taxied in, you tell the engineers that you did an overweight landing, and they do an engineering check of the aircraft and the landing gear and the structure to make sure that there was nothing that happened to the aircraft. And after that, the aircraft is free to go again. So an overweight landing is very much a moo thing on the 737. Aljo, sorry, for some reason your super chat question didn't go through, and if that's the case, then go into the Mentour Aviation app, go to submit feedback, write super chat question, and then just ask me the question there, and I'll answer it to you there. All right. Valeo Visgrano, I hope that I pronounced that right. What are the ATPL subjects expected at an interview? How long is a rope? Like, you can expect to be questioned on pretty much anything. You probably on an interview, you will be given a question that has to do with either previous experience that you might have. So if you've flown a specific aircraft type and there is some technical details on that aircraft type, the pilots in the room, like the technical pilots, they might ask you questions on that. When it comes to ATPL subjects, it's likely to be something fairly straightforward, as in something that you can answer without going into too much detail. So it's not going to be like a math example. You're not going to have to calculate the variation when flying over Iceland with this, nothing like that. There's going to be something like airlow, for example. It could be a meteorology question that's pretty much straightforward, but I can't sit here and tell you that you are going to get A, B, C question, because that's the whole point of an interview. They want to scope what your knowledge level is, and obviously if they come and ask me that question, I probably can't answer it, because it was 20 years since I read my ATPL subjects, and my knowledge at the moment is very much a practical type of knowledge, where I have used a lot of these ATPL subjects to formulate and to create the kind of experience and knowledge level that I have. But if they come in and ask me a specific question on a specific subject, I probably couldn't answer. However, that's why they wouldn't ask that to me. They would ask me something related to what I've done so far and how I would deal with a very tricky situation, how I would prioritize, for example. But when they ask a cadet who doesn't have any experience to talk about, then they will expect you, who have that knowledge reasonably fresh, to remember that, to remember details. So the fresher you are, the more tricky ATPL questions you can expect, basically. And it kind of is logical if you think about it. David Moore, can a 737 land on a runway other than asphalt concrete, like grass or gravel? It can. The 737-200 had a gravel kit that you could fit to it. So it was actually made to be able to land on gravel runways, probably not grass though, because there's a lot of weight on those wheels, and there's only a wheel pair on each side. So there's going to be a lot of pressure, and if you have grass, for example, it's going to sink through. But a very hard gravel runway could definitely be landed on. Most asphalt roads as well. But then again, like, I've seen pictures of 737s and bigger aircraft that have sunk through asphalt, that have been taxiing over a part of a taxiway they shouldn't have been on, or a taxiway has basically not the pavement classification number, the PCN needed, and then the weight just presses through. It's like you're taking your thumb and pushing it through hot butter, like it doesn't hold. So I wouldn't land on a grass runway with a 737, but a very hard gravel runway, say type in Africa or up in, let's say, in Canada, for example, where you have maybe ice in the earth, as in you have permafrost, then that might well hold. I wish I had my friends from Plane Savers here. They could definitely answer that question for you. Jake Schroeder, do you have to have a special qualification to be a pilot on a new plane's delivery flight? How does your company choose the pilots? So that's up to the company. Depends a little bit. Like in my company, you need to, in order to be a captain on a delivery flight, you need to have some training on it. And that training is basically you fly a few delivery flights as a first officer to learn the ropes, to know what's important. And also it might be things like oceanic operation that maybe for example, I don't fly oceanic routes normally. But when I did that delivery flight, which I have done as a first officer, as in right seat, I had to go through the oceanic course that you need to do, and you had to write an exam to have that done. So and then generally speaking, going to get a new aircraft is a great honor. It's something that they would give out as a perk to someone who has done something to help the company out, or someone they want to really give like a positive push to. Otherwise, it's given to a team that does it all the time. So that has to be a little group of people that has been selected to do these kind of flights, because the more, obviously, the more you've done them, the better you are at it, the less problems there will be. So that's the way it works. So that, you know, there will be a core team that does them all the time, and then you would have the odd one that gets picked up because of some reason. All right. In my case, I had been helping out to do a safety course. I was traveling around the network to help teach a safety course, basically, like a triennial safety course. And I did that for several months. I was away from my family quite a lot and stuff. And they said, like, as a thank you because you did this and you helped us out, you know, we are going to try to get you onto a delivery flight. And I got to do that. And it was one of the coolest flights, probably the coolest flights I've done. I was so happy to have done that. It was a privilege, and it was great, and it was fun. And I put it together with a 3-day vacation in Seattle. So I went to see the city, which is beautiful, by the way. I went to see the factories, and Boeing was really, really cool. They helped us out, and they got us cars to drive us around to these factories and stuff. It was amazing. It was a great experience, something that I will never forget for sure. Algie, do you need to renew your medical with your company in Europe, or can you make an appointment with any doctor that is qualified to renew your flying medical certificate? Yeah, no, you can do it with any AME that is certified to give you the renewal under the rules that you're operating under. So, for example, I operate under EASA rules, so I need a doctor that is EASA approved. Now, if I find an EASA approved doctor in, for example, Brazil or whatever, they can renew my license there. They have to have that authority, then they can do it. But yes, it needs to be. I can't go to an FAA doctor, for example, and get my medical there unless he or she has some kind of deal to to communicate that to EASA, basically. So, because there are computer systems and stuff, and it needs to match, and it needs to be a back check to make sure that this AME, this doctor, is following protocol and is properly trained. And like, it is very complicated. So you just ask them, can you do EASA medicals? Yes. Go, no matter where you are. Pilot Bull Roti. Pitbull Roti. Hi Petter, with the AMCAS system on the 737 MAX and other instances of the computer failing the pilots, how would you recognize that's the issue, and could you literally restart the software to fix it? You would recognize it because you always have to monitor what the aircraft is doing. A good indication, that's why you have to have human pilots there, by the way, because like MCAS and stuff, that's an extreme example, but the FMC CDU frequently makes mistakes. As in, you might be coming in, descending on a VNAV path nicely towards an airport, and then all of a sudden, it just drops the nose, because it realizes that, oh, actually, I am now recalculating the descent path because the winds are different than I thought they would be. So now you are 500 feet high, and just drops the nose and the speed goes up and stuff. These kind of things happen all the time. So the pilots have to be there. They have to monitor what the aircraft is doing, monitor what's happening outside, and be ready to take over at any time, right? So when you see something odd happening, like for example a runaway stabilizer, and the stabilizer moving all the time, and you see that it's going against the controls, for example, well, then you can quickly intervene and disconnect that system. That's the point here. When it comes to resetting the software, that wouldn't be something we would be doing, not unless it is actually described in an emergency checklist. So we would take our quick reference handbook up, this one, and if we have like an FMC failure, for example, then I will take this up. I will go into the FMC chapter. So this flight management computer, that is chapter 11 here. And then I will see that there, for example, we have FMC fail. That's 11.4. FMC fail. So one or more of these occur. Loss of FMC data on ACDU. Loss of FMC data on a navigation display map mode. Elimination of the FMC alert light. And I checked that, yes, that is the case. Number 1, resume conventional navigation. Without an operating FMC, LNAV and VNAV are not available. 2. Verify position relative to terrain using conventional navigation. EGPWS may use inaccurate GPS position data or an inappropriate value of RMP. This could result in a VSD terrain display that is incorrectly positioned relative to the airplane track. 3. When preparing for the approach, use the speed ref selected to the current gross weight, use the speed ref selected to set the reference airspeeds bogs, and use the N1 set selector to set the N1 bogs. And that is the end of the FMC fail checklist. So as you can see, that doesn't give you any option. Actually, do you want to go out? That doesn't give you any option to reset the computer. It doesn't even try to fix the problem. It just says, okay, so you had this aid, that was good for you. Now it doesn't work, so resume conventional navigation. Hence why you need to pay attention during your IFR training. Because as you can see, this checklist does not help you to get that magenta line back. So you don't have a magenta line anymore. Now it's all about flying VORs and flying NDBs, and to a certain extent you can obviously ask for radar vectors and stuff like that, but it just means that you're on your own. Apply your training, get it done. Okay, so resetting the system and trying to fix it, that's for the engineers when you get down on the ground. When we're up in the air, you just continue to fly. So RB211, hi Mentor, following on from your future of air travel video, do you think that we will see the end of the 25-minute turnaround temporarily? No, knowing the way that low-fare airlines operate, I don't think that they will ever officially go away from that. What is more likely to happen is that there's going to be some kind of new delay code added to it, possibly slightly longer block times allocated to kind of, accommodate it. But the second that you walk away from like a 25-minute turnaround, that's when things start to relax. So people will say that, well, we have a little bit more time, so we don't need to hurry that much with getting the passengers ready to board or get the baggage on board and stuff. And then it will be possibly impossible to get back to 25 minutes when it's needed to. So I don't think that we will see the 25-minute turnaround as a planned entity disappear. But I don't think that it's going to be able to do, it all depends on what kind of regulation comes out of it. We don't know what what EASA and what FAA is going to say. Like if they say that, okay, you need to board the passengers one by one need to sit down before the other one enters the aircraft, well then of course, then it's going to take an hour to do a turnaround. But if they say like, okay, you can board in smaller groups, you can space them out, and you can, board generally almost like you did before, well then maybe it works. So it's very hard to say what's going to happen. But we do know though that there are going to be changes, especially in the short term. It's going to be more of a pain generally to travel. I don't think that's only aircraft. I think that is the boats, for trains, for buses, for taxis, for everything. Okay, which is why I think that we're going to see a huge trend of like, people exploring their home country now. We're going to see people taking their own cars, and I think that caravans is going to go up in value, and boats are going to go up in value and stuff like that, because people are like, I don't want to go through that. I'm going to take my car and my family and my tent, and I'm going to go for 20 kilometers that direction. And actually there was a really nice house there that I could rent, and we could stay there instead, or a nice camping or whatever. We're going to see some of that. That's why I'm saying that 2020 is lost. 2020 is going to be one of those years where no one goes anywhere. It's just going to be, around the house. But then 2021, then I think as we get this completely under control and people see the measures are working and stuff, that's when we're going to start seeing an uptick in passenger numbers again. But it's complicated times. We're going to see some real changes to people's attitude and the way that people do things. It's unavoidable. So, Natalie Olson. Well, since it's midday here in the States, it's time for a celebration of Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Sandra! Happy Mother's Day again. There's no present. Don't send any more of those, because eventually she will tell me to actually go and buy her a present now. Every time in ways that you probably didn't expect that they would be. But you are more important to your kids than you've ever been. Now you're potentially their teachers as well as the role models. Remember that that's what you are. Your main job as a parent is to be a good role model, to set the kind of value standards to your kids so that they come out and become positive, constructive, happy people out in society. So, hats off to all you moms out there for the work that you're doing. I know it's really appreciated. I really appreciate my own mom more and more for every day that goes by. But yeah, that's what I want to say on that. Okay, so Swids the pilot. Hi Petra, just wanted to share. Despite COVID, I am getting my trial skill test next weekend with real deal following. Please send some thumbs up. You're gonna do great. Like, I know that you have this dream. You're pursuing that dream exactly in the way that I want you guys to do it. And if you're going for your test, it means that you have the confidence to do it. It means that you probably have the knowledge to do it as well. Just get it over with. It's like ripping off a band-aid. Once it's done, it's done. So, best of luck is what I want to say. Marcus Ibenet. Hello, please do some special on Winterops. Hälsningar from Sverige. Doing Winterops videos now as it's getting warm and there's no ice anymore. Sure. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try maybe to do some Winterops videos when we're starting to get close to maybe September, October, when it's a little bit more of an issue. But if I have done a few videos on Winterops already, so check out Deadly Ice. I think I did a video called, which was a little bit about it. I know Captain Joe has done some great videos about de-icing as well. So there's loads and loads of great videos out there. But absolutely, I'll do some more videos. I can't say no when you guys are asking for it. J.A. Bristol. Hello, Petter. What's your favorite aviation-based movie? Mine's a tie between Executive Decisions and Air Force One. Ooh, I don't... Like... Obviously, Sully is one of my favorite aviation movies. It's also the reason I like that one is just because it's very realistic. It portrays something that really happened, and it shows also what happened to the pilots afterwards when it came to the kind of questioning that they were subjected to and stuff. From a professional point of view, I found that really, really interesting to watch. And then you have, what's it called? The one where it flips the MD-80 upside down and knocks off the church tower. That one was also good because I thought that it was well portrayed. Maybe not how pilots are now, but definitely how pilots, like how the profession used to be if you go back a few decades. So I like that one as well. I like the realistic ones, the ones that you could see that, yeah, the pilots are operating kind of like you would expect them to. The problems that they're facing is also kind of what you would expect them to. The types of snakes on a plane and Air Force One, not so much. I don't. It irritates me a little bit more than it makes me happy to watch them. So. Let's see. I jumped again with questions here. I'm just going back to where we were. I'm so behind here, guys. Okay, there we go. Pitbull Roti. Also, I was the first one that took the pic of the plane in front of the moon. Sent it by Facebook. Was so happy to get that. Feel free to use it if you choose. Yeah, that was very cool. I will definitely, if I have a possibility to use it. Dan Cohen, Danko 1968. I hope that your family and you are doing great. Thank you. Patch is a cutie. Sorry I misspelled his name. It's fine. I've always wondered if balloon releases are dangerous for airplanes in flight. You mean small balloons, as in the ones that go up? No, they don't go that high. They generally, like, either they pop because they're not built for the decreasing air pressure, so they pop fairly quickly and they fall down, or the wind takes them and puts them into a tree somewhere. So that I've never heard of a problem of that. Weather balloons is a very different thing. They tend to not be released on known flight tracks, but I've actually flown past one, and it's a scary thing because they have that little metal kind of probe underneath it. So you just see it, you just see what's that, and then it's like, there's no way that because you can't see them. It doesn't on weather radar. You don't have them on TCAS or anything like that. You just realize that there's something that goes by. That could potentially cause damage, because that little metal thing, if you hit that at the speeds that we're flying, it's definitely going to hurt something. But it's also very, very rare. So generally, no. Howard Owen. Håvard Owen. Ja, det där är norsk, tror jag. Hi, my big dream is to become a airline pilot, but 3 years ago I got tinnitus and I still have it to this day. Do you know if that affects me becoming a pilot? Tinnitus is one of those things that can affect you, yes, depending on how bad it is and depending on if it actually affects your hearing. All right, so you are going to go and do a hearing test, and if you can clear that, I think you're fine. But I have had colleagues that have lost their medical license because of tinnitus. So it's one of those things that you have to check depending on how bad it is. Once again, I don't give medical advice. Like, I am not an air medical examiner. I'm not supposed to give medical advice to people. But so what I would want you to do is just go to your closest AME. You can just go into whatever city that you're in, and you can just type AME your city. It's going to give you a few names. You can call them up. Most likely they're going to tell you to go to the aeromedical center, which tends to be one in each country, and do some tests on it. But I think that you can pass it. Like I said, check with them, and best of luck. Matt Burgess, hi, hope you're doing well. I am. I've seen the 737 terrain radar being turned on after landing in some videos online. Would that be to avoid ground collisions? No. Do you mean the weather radar on terrain? Or actually just like we have it's not a radar actually. The terrain database is always there. So as long as you have the IRSs aligned, it continuously scans. It looks like it's a radar, but what it is, it's actually just an update of the internal terrain database. So as long as the IRSs knows where you are, you're going to get that terrain database going. All right, so that's on the ground. As long as you have terrain on your EFIS display panel, it's going to be there. But the weather radar we don't have on the ground, obviously, because it can subject ground personnel to radiation and stuff that we don't want them to have. But it's not used for anything on the ground. Obviously, you're already on the ground, so hitting terrain is not going to be an issue. It could be helpful though when you're standing on the runway, when you're just about to take off, to scroll out a little bit, because it can give you a good idea where the big obstacles are, where the big terrain obstacles are, like if you're not familiar with an airport, for example. But then again, you know where your MSA is, how high you need to climb, and to follow your departure structure and stuff, so it shouldn't be an issue. Cheryl Baker, odd question. I love those. Do you know anything on the weight limit for doing skydives? 13th. Is it due to the weight causing risks to person and aerodynamics? Yeah, it's the maximum weight of an aircraft. Like, an aircraft can only handle so much weight on takeoff, for example. It's only certified to carry a certain number of people and a certain amount of weight. And if you go outside of that, the aircraft might not be able to take off, or you might be outside of your weight limit, so it could be not being within the weight and balance envelope. So that's the weight limit. That's why you can't just keep piling in people into a skydiver plane. It doesn't work that way. If you've seen, there is what's it called, Made in America, with Tom Cruise, where he's playing a drug smuggler pilot. There's a good scene where he is at a Colombian airport, and they want him to fly some cocaine, and they want to fill the aircraft up with cocaine, and he tries to take off just outside of his takeoff weight limits, And it's a fairly good, it shows you what approximately could happen if you try to take off with an aircraft above its maximum takeoff weight. It's not great, but the film is great, actually. I enjoyed it. Montemanesco. Okay, so your first message got retracted. The second one, I want to look into getting a VR headset to watch your videos. What kind is good that does not cut so much? All right, so this is really important for you guys to be aware of. My videos inside of the Mentour Aviation app, they're filmed in 360, okay, but then it's only really available for Google Cardboard, all right? So they can't be used in an Oculus headset unless, no, it can't be actually. There might be a way to crack it, but it should not be used for Oculus. It should not be used even for Samsung VR, right? What you need is basically just the cheapest kind of VR headset. You know, these ones that you kind of pop your phone into it and then you just strap these on and you look. Like, these are literally available for 10 euros or $10, and that's what you can use it for. And if you do, then you get a, you know, just gonna make sure that this works. So then this is what you can do without a headset. So you can obviously scroll around. You can use your fingers to scroll around as well. And if you put it inside of a headset like that, then you can look around. So it's not going to be like a VR game. All right. I want to make that very clear to everyone. It's the best I could do a few years back when I created this this application, to give you a sense of what it's like sitting on jump seat when we do some of these maneuvers, like engine failure after takeoff, for example, or TCAS maneuver, CATS 3 approaches and go arounds, and a full setup of the 737 from when it's cold and dark until it's ready to taxi. So I did that. You can use a tablet, you can use any kind of Android device or iOS device. You cannot use it on a normal computer, all right? And I know I got some questions in the beginning of the chat here where people like, when can I get this available to me on a normal computer? The fact is that no, first of all, I'm never going to put it up on YouTube, because it's just going to be, people hate paying for stuff on YouTube, and the fact is it costs me quite a lot of money to produce these videos. So I keep them on the app, right? On the app, they are secured and safe. You cannot be shared around, which everything else can be done otherwise. And I can control the way it's being used as well. So they are probably going to be there. Now, people asked if I was going to continue these videos, and I want to know from you guys, do you want me to do more 360 videos, or do you want me to focus more on doing, for example, a flight from A to B with a wide angle lens so you can see everything at once? Now, the downside of 360 videos is that you can never get it as sharp or as detailed as you can if you start zooming in on different parts of like an HD video. Like, it's just not possible. It's just too much data. I had to put 6 GoPro Black cameras in a tandem in order to create those videos and then stitch them together. So the videos that I made in the app is there to give you an overview of how we work together. It's not to give you an exact, you know, how does that button look. That you can go in and look at, for example, X-Plane 11 or something like that to do, right? But I wanted to give you a feeling so that you can look at, for example, how does the captain handle an engine failure, all right? So now let's look at how the first officer does it and get the feeling of how we work together. That's what's unique with this. So guys, if you want to write in the normal chat if you want to see me making more of those kind of videos or not, because I will, as soon as this pandemic is over, I'm going to get myself into a simulator and I'm going to start producing these kind of videos. And I want to produce videos for people who are afraid of flying as well, and a lot of that's going to be in the app. And by the way, guys, these videos, it's about 2 hours of 737 instruction that's available in the app at the moment, and you can buy all of it for $20. So $20 you have 2 hours of 737 instruction, and it's inside of the Mentour Aviation app if you get it. So enjoy. You can check it out. If you just want to check out how it looks, you can buy an individual video. I think it's like $2, something like that. Cool. That's it. What about going to a Swedish Air Force for the pilot license? Yeah, so I get this question quite a lot, whether or not it's a good idea to go through the Air Force. And of course, if you are into, let's see, I just want to see what people are saying. No 360, please. No 360. HD over 360. Wide angle, not 360. Please. Yes, please, more 360. Okay. 360 is terrible. Okay. All right. Yeah, I get the kind of overall idea here. Perfect. Cool. Yes. So the only reason you want to go through the Air Force if is because you want to be an Air Force pilot. You want to serve your country, you want to do the military thing, you want to fly very fast aircraft, you want to fly combat missions, you want to do stuff like that, okay? If you want to just be trained to be a civilian pilot and fly airliners, then I don't recommend you to go through the Air Force because they will bond you. Most of the time they need to keep you for 5 to 7 years at least because it costs them millions to train you, so you're going to have to be there for a while, and it is really a completely different type of flying. So at least in Europe I would not recommend it. Now if you're in the US it might be different. I had an interview with CW Lemoyne. He seemed to be really happy to have gone that way, and he just ended up in the civilian track afterwards. But in Europe, it's slightly different. So look into it carefully. And obviously, it's like treading through a needle's eye. It's very hard to get into the Air Forces as it looks now. Okay, so someone says that I have skipped a message. No, I haven't. I don't think so, anyway. Cool. Oscars Numanis. Hi, mentor. Greetings from Northern Ireland. Greetings. How much does it cost to fly per hour on a Boeing 737-800? 1 hour flight, for example. It varies. I think that you can, in some cases, you can actually rent a 737. I know that there are airlines who do type ratings, who rent the 737 out for doing, for example, your base training, which you need to do in order to get your license on it. And I think it varies between 2,000 to 4,000 euros per hour, something like that. I'm sure that you can get more expensive versions of that as well. The exact price I'm not sure of. All right, you're gonna have to check that out. And then there are people who charter out their 737, so you can actually rent it. If you have a bunch of friends and you want to go on a football trip, for example, you can actually look into renting a 737 for a return trip, and maybe it'll cost, I don't know, 20,000 euros. But if you're 50 of you, maybe it's worth it, right? So you didn't answer my question. Where was that question? Let's see. I have to make sure. Wait, guys, I just have to make sure that someone was asking about something to the max, and I'm interested too. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any super chat question. Guys, you like my administrators out there. Sam, if you're here, if you've seen me miss the super chat questions, please send me a message, right? Because I don't want to miss any of them. I don't think that I have, actually. So, will you fly the Comac C919 if offered good money? If when it's certified, I will. If I need to, if my company buys that aircraft type and it's fully certified and it's okay to fly, sure, absolutely. I don't have anything against certified aircraft. I don't care where they come from as long as they are deemed perfectly safe, just like everyone else to fly. So no problem at all. N Kramer 86. Could you rate my home airport? Such as runway length and taxiways. It is Peoria International Airport, PIA, in Illinois. I don't know. Rate it. I don't know how I'm going to be able to rate that. Do you want me to do it like for landing on 737? Let's see if I can find it here. Let's see. Okay, so my administrator have checked and I haven't missed anything. That's great. Thank you, Sam. That's perfect. I'm gonna see if I can find it here. Airport. Pia, you said. Okay, Pia. Okay, let's see. Peoria. Okay, so we have runway 1331 is the longest, 3,000 meters concrete, 46 meters wide. It has ILS approaches from both directions, RNAV and VOR approaches as well. It looks great, man. The 3,000 meter runway, I can take down, you can put down any type of aircraft there. And it has good approach light or approach system from both directions. Looks very good. That's all I can say about it. I will happily fly there. Not an issue. Kevin Klise participated in many deliveries of Boeing aircraft to various airlines before retired from Boeing as a customer engineer. Even witnessed a low flyby and a steep climb out for a Condor 757. Amazing. Yeah, it must have been very, very cool. I know that it was a little bit frowned upon doing those flybys, but the 757 is such a beautiful aircraft. Ooh, I've seen. I wonder if it was a Condor actually. Anyway, I've flown on a Condor as a passenger flight. Actually, I think I actually flew on a Condor 757 over to Seattle when I did my delivery flight. So, it would be cool if that was the same 757 as you saw. But yeah, the 757 is a beautiful aircraft. And, so you must have seen a lot of cool things. Great stuff. LG, my company requires APU for the whole turn. If the temperature is extreme in Europe, I see it's more restricted, but it's really hot or cold day. Can you use your discretion to turn on the APU before boarding to cool down the cabin? Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of environmental rules as to how long you can keep the APU running, but they can only have those environmental rules if they have external air conditioning. So in Barcelona, for example, it's a good example. Anytime that the temperature starts coming up to 20, 25 degrees, something like that, they will connect the external air conditioning, and then you still have to adhere to those APU rules, right? So you have to wait until 10 minutes before departure before you can start it up, and it kind of makes sense. But if they don't have external air conditioning, then you can use the APU as much as you like. I have even been in situations where I haven't had a working APU and it's been like 35 degrees outside, and of course you get roasted inside, and the humidity climbs so quickly when you close the doors. So I've asked for permission from the tower and from the ground personnel to start one engine, the right hand engine up, and have that running and use it as an air conditioning unit. I've done that. It's you do what you have to do. It's impossible to be on board an aircraft when you have full sunlight and 35 degrees outside. It's like a sauna. It's worse than a sauna. So, Jacob, Way White, could you tour us the hangar at the Catalonian airport? Well, we don't have, my company does not have a hangar here. Our aircraft are all outside, and it's also against the law in Spain generally to film on airports unless you have prior permission to do so. So that's going to be hard to do. But I would love to go and do a hangar walk around somewhere. We'll see, especially if I have a 737 in that hangar, because then I could do a walk around video, which is something I really want to do. Max Viens, why don't you fly private? GA planes too unsafe. I'm going for PPL to fly with family, 4 packs. Is multi-engine or IR or aerobatic rating worth it for more safety? Okay, so that depends upon what you want to do. It's not like the safety aspect that keeps me from flying general aviation. It's just the fact that I don't have time, and so far there's been very little interest from my family. If you want to go out and fly, it takes the whole day. It means that you're away from your family, and unless you have your family with you, it's not that fun. At least I don't feel that. I don't want to go and spend a whole weekend away on an airport when I've spent a whole week flying on that airport before. So that was my reasoning before. Now, this is starting to change as my oldest son is starting to be interested in aviation. Then maybe it will be something that's worth picking up. There's a lot of really, really good, very safe single-engine aircraft out there. That's not an issue for me. Now, if you want to use it to actually transport you and your family somewhere, especially if it's bad weather or you want to fly instrument conditions, then I would definitely go for a multi-engine aircraft. I wouldn't want to fly that much IFR single-engine piston, but that's just me. I'm too much of a, I won't be able, if I'm single engine, if something happens with my piston engine, I want to be able to see what's below me. so that I can do a good emergency landing on a field somewhere. I wouldn't want to be in the middle of a cloud with a cloud base of 400 feet and having that happening to me. But in VFR conditions, not an issue. Right? At least that's my point of view. So you're awesome. Keep it up. Thank you. That's always nice to hear. Guys, I think you can stop the super chat questions now, because otherwise I will run out of voice. I want to be able to answer these questions. So you're awesome. Keep the blue side up. That's of a 74 gear quote, isn't it? Steve Dowler, what is the latest on the 737 MAX production? Great channel. I appreciate the detailed and factual information as a passenger. Cheers. So the 737 is still being recertified in the background, right? They still keep finding stuff, which is expected because they're going through it with a fine toothbrush now. Every single part of that aircraft is probably being recertified as we speak, and they will find stuff as they would with any aircraft that has to go through that level of scrutiny. So it will be recertified. When? It's very hard to say. I thought it was going to be recertified now. Obviously, now we have this thing going on. It's more likely that it's going to be towards autumn. Doesn't really matter that much anymore because the aircraft are not flying anyway. So that gives Boeing a bit of breathing room to kind of get the recertification process done and dusted. But it will come up again. Thank you very much for your kind words. It means a lot to me that people who are not into aviation, but maybe just a passenger or something, thinks that it's worth watching my channel. It's really, really great to hear. That's kind of why I'm doing this in the first place. So cool. Gadgetman36, Air Crash Investigation is a great documentary series. Yeah, it is. I was actually tinkering with an idea of doing something together with them. I haven't contacted them though, but it would be really nice to sit down and use some of their documentary material and do kind of reaction videos to them. That's something that I've been thinking about doing. So we shall see what happens. Scott Lowry, great to have you here, Scott, another one of my patrons. Hi, Peter. How do you prepare for an overnight stay if you're not able to fly back to your base airport? Well, you have a pair of nice clean underwear and a toothbrush and a deodorant in your flight bag. And then if that happens, the day that it happens, at least you can kind of refresh yourself. Maybe even a t-shirt is a good idea. So that you can go take a shower, change your t-shirt at least for the next day. Otherwise, yeah, that's what I do anyway. It happens very rarely. I've had maybe 2 overnights or 3 overnights that I wasn't counting on during my time in my current company. So it's very, very rare that happened. Ian, Jill. Hey, Ian. Another one. My patrons are on fire here. All the media have simple solutions based on their prejudice. All you people in the industry just keep going. Stick to your dreams. Yeah. It's very hard to sit down now and know what to believe in and what not to. There's no question about the crisis in the business and the crisis that will follow. If this kind of lockdown goes on for much longer, we will see a large percentage of existing airlines go bankrupt unless the states, the countries comes in with some kind of support, because it's just that the airlines, they don't have that amount of cash generally sitting around. It's either invested into aircraft or it's in the US there's been a lot of stock buybacks, which they're probably wishing they didn't now. But generally there was no one who was thinking about a drop of 96% of operation. It was unfathomable. It was like if I would have said 6 months ago that, I bet in June or in May this year, 96% of the European air passenger airliners are going to sit on the ground. People would have thought I was crazy. I would have been laughed at, because that's not how we deal. That's not how the companies deals with things. They would have said that, yeah, if it comes a recession, then we might have a 15% downturn. That would have been like the nightmare scenario. But this scenario, no one has ever seen this. So, yeah, we are going to see some issues coming up, definitely. But having said that, just like Ian is saying, I do think, like I said in the beginning of the live stream, I do think that we are going to come out of this. It's going to look different. The world is going to look completely different, but we are going to come out of this in some shape or form. No question about it. So, Jakob Way White, I remember you said that in one of your videos you were going to do a more detailed video about how quickly fire can spread. Yeah. Then the fire video, as in uncontained fire on board an aircraft, is something I really do want to do a video on. I've saved that one. I've done one loads of years ago, and I don't like that. That was just me, a talking head. That was before I could start to really edit stuff. But I want to do a proper video on that. So I'm kind of savoring that until I have access to a cabin trainer, for example, where I can show you how the smoke behaves and things like that. There's people sending me messages now in the Mentour Aviation app. I'm going to go over there, by the way, and speak to people in the app after this. I always kind of go over and chillax a little bit in the app after my lives are done. So make sure that you have that downloaded. It's free. Let's chase. Gimli Glider free fall flight 174. Another true to life film. Boeing 767 runs out of fuel. Loaded pounds, not kilos. Fuel sim test crashes. Landed Ukish. Yeah, I know that's another amazing situation. Like the fact that they managed to get that aircraft down and there was no one killed by it is absolutely amazing. I highly recommend you guys to go and check that out. Check out the Gimli Glider. It's crazy. It's like the ones that landed, the Atlantic Glider as well. The ones that ran out of fuel because of a fuel leak and landed somewhere else in the Azores. Another completely unlikely event, which also ended up being handled good, saving everyone on board. Crazy. As you can hear now, I'm running a little bit out of voice, if you can't tell. Daniel Bengtsson. Hi, Petter. How is it possible that Wizz Air is the largest airline for the moment? It is a low-cost airline and usually go to Budapest. Yeah, Wizz Air is going to come up as one of the winners out of this. They are going to surprise a lot of people, I think. Wizz Air have a lot of money, and cash is king at the moment. So, keep looking at what Wizz Air is doing is my advice, because I think they're gonna come with a lot of surprises. Ken May, any views on the airport at Madeira? Yeah, I haven't flown there. It's supposed to be a fairly tricky airport to come in, especially during windy situations, but I haven't had the pleasure of landing there myself. But I mean, I don't have anything to say about the airport. I can just say that it's very, very tricky to come in there, and there's loads of wind shears happening there all the time. Donald Bengtsson, biggest in Europe, I think. Yeah, that depends. I would say that Ryanair is probably a fair bit bigger. But right now, I think Wizz are the only ones flying, more or less. So they might be biggest right now. Ashley Judkins, hi Mentor, thanks for the live stream. Well, thank you for being here. If you have to take control from your captain for whatever reason, can the captain take back controls? Well, I am the captain. So if my first officer needs to take control from me, it would be because of some kind of either obvious or subtle incapacitation. So the obvious one is easy. That's if I get a heart attack or a stroke or something and I just stop working. The subtle incapacitation is the tricky one. That's if I am, for example, extremely distracted, or maybe I have a lot of pain that I'm not saying anything about, so I'm not taking in anything that's going around me, but I'm still inputting on controls. So if that happens, it's very tricky to make that judgment. Now, if someone takes control, as in properly takes control, the other pilot should not regain control unless this is a disagreement of some sort, which I pray would never happen, because that is a really, really bad situation. All right, this is why you have the gradient in the cockpit. The captain, if you have two sane people, like say, okay, you have two people that are at their full capacity, mentally, physically, then the captain can always take back control of the aircraft. The captain is the one that's responsible for the flight. The captain is the one that I can always say, I have the aircraft. It's my controls, and take controls at any point. I do that frequently when I'm training, for example. If I see that the training pilot is misjudging something, or it is getting too far out on the localizer or glide slope, for example, for me to see that we can, continue the approach in a stabilized way unless I intervene, then I say, all right, so my controls, I take controls, and there's no questions asked because I'm the commander. But if he takes control from me, it must be because I've done something incredibly weird. That's something that's indicating that I'm not there mentally. And in that case, I should realize the situation that, okay, he wouldn't have taken the controls if something weren't wrong with me. So I'm just going to be incapacitated for now. I'm just going to be sitting here. I'm not going to be touching controls. And then this is going to be filed as an incapacitation event. But this is extremely rare. Very, very rare. Rens Rickerink. Hi, I'm 27. I was going through an EasyJet selection, which is now postponed due to COVID. Do you think I'll stand a chance in becoming a pilot once this all ends? With pilot saturations, etc. Yeah, I do think so. I think that there's going to be a rough few years. Like I've said a few times, there is going to be a market for young pilots coming up anyway. In fact, there's going to be a lot of airlines that I think is going to be looking for cadets. Let's say 2022, 2023, something like that. I think that the demand is going to come up again. And that is because I think a lot of the baby boomers are going to leave the market by then. So that's a huge, this, where I'm sitting here now, this is my office and my wife's office. Okay, wait, it seems like the stream is down. Just wait. Okay, it seems like we're back again. So this used to be my wife's office completely. Before I started a YouTube channel and stuff, this was her office. And she had it as a nail salon. She was doing nails. She loves pink. So the pink phone, the pink wallpaper comes from the fact that this used to be her nail salon where she was doing nails to her customers. And yeah, that's kind of the story of that. Now the pink phone is, yeah, it's just cool. I like it as well, so I keep it. Good. Okay, so let's see. Matt Burgess, cheers for explaining. I understand now. Looking back, it seems like terrain was selected on the EFIS to turn off the weather radar. Exactly. Yeah, that's one way of doing it. You can either have terrain or weather radar. So if you choose terrain, then that switches off the weather radar. Cool. Cesar for Niner. When will these travel restrictions you mentioned start to take place? We're moving with our newborn in June, July to Ireland from New York. We're scared by then there may be many restrictions and we can't go. Well, I mean, now they will start as soon. Basically, these restrictions that we have been discussing, they will be kicking in as soon as we start flying again. So if they aren't already implemented, they will be. And in June, July, if they haven't, they will inform you what you need to do, basically. So if they haven't cancelled your flight yet, that's a good thing. It means that the flight is still scheduled to go. And if they need something special from you guys, or if there's going to be restrictions applied to it, they will definitely tell you. So don't worry about that. It's going to be up to the airline to explain this to their customer. You're moving to Ireland from New York. Well, that's cool. It's going to be a little bit more rainy, but Ireland is lovely. RB211. On a 777-800 last year at night during a storm, I noticed on descent into clouds that the wing lights were switched on and off a lot. Do you think they were looking for ice? Never seen that before. Yeah, that's why we do it. We switch those on only if you want to check if there's any ice on the leading edges. So they wouldn't have done it for any other reason than that. Ocean, have you ever flown to Greenland or northern Norway? No, I've flown over Greenland. When I delivered a flight from Seattle, then we flew via Greenland, Iceland, and in. I have never flown to northern Norway. I've flown to some places in Norway, though. I've flown to Torp. I've flown to Rygge. I've flown to an airport a little bit up the coastline there. I can't remember. It's quite tricky to fly in there, I remember. It was kind of circling procedure to get in. but I can't remember what it was called now. I have to check that out. But yeah, I've flown. That it wasn't northern Norway. It was like midway up Norway. It was a lot of mountains. That so much I remember. 12 Ken, thank you for your support. Marcus Lagendorf as well, thank you very much. And Matthew S. Pan Pan versus Mayday. What's the difference in use, culture, training, level of emergency? So I mentioned this before actually. So a Pan Pan call is an urgency call. It tells air traffic control that you have an urgent situation on board that needs to be resolved, but there's no immediate danger. So that might be, for example, some cases we call Pan Pan if you have a medical urgency on board, but it hasn't turned into a medical emergency. So, for example, we need to get priority to get down to get to an ambulance, for example, but the person is not in critical condition. In that case, we might use a pan-pan call. We might use a pan-pan call as well for an engine failure. So an engine failure after takeoff, for example, you still have one working engine, you're still flying the aircraft perfectly under control, then you can use a pan-pan call. It's an urgency call. They know that, okay, so there's something going on here. We might need to give priority to them, but there's no immediate danger of, the assault on board. Okay. Mayday call. Mayday call is that now we have some real danger. Now you need immediate support, and a Mayday call opens up military runways, closed runways. It opens up everything to you. You have full priority to go back to or proceed to pretty much whatever you need to, because it is a full-blown emergency. So that's the difference. Pan is an urgency call, and Mayday is a Mayday as a emergency call. All right. So that's the plain difference between them. I hope that makes sense. Artur Garrido, thank you for your support. And twice, I don't know. So where are you born? How did you get to Spain? I am Swedish. Jag är grymt svensk till och med. Jag kommer från Sundsvall. Mina föräldrar bor i Sundsvall. Jag kommer ifrån Örnsköldsvik. That's a little bit of Swedish for you. Basically saying that I'm from a Swedish town called Örnsköldsvik, but my parents now live outside of Sundsvall in Timrå. And that's where I came from, and then I have lived in the UK for 3.5 years. I have lived in Sweden again for 7 years. I have done my type rating in Holland. I have now lived in Spain since 2013, so 7 years. That's where I've been living, basically. So any little accent that you might hear, that's my Swedish, or the fact that I've been working for an Irish company for 19 years probably gives me a bit of an Irish accent as well, which kind of shines through sometimes. TCC, hi. Do AAIB reports on pilot error incidents shock you? Even experienced airline pilots seem to make basic errors like wrong FMCG input regularly. Yeah. No, it doesn't shock me. Of course we make mistakes. Just like anyone can make mistakes. That's why we're two of us, so that we can pick up each other's errors. It's completely human to err, and it doesn't shock me at all. What shocks me is when you have a chain of events that leads up to an incident that shouldn't have been there. So if you have, for example, several checklists that should, if they would have been used correctly, would have picked up an error, and they haven't been used, that shocks me, and that makes me angry, because that means that anyone can make a mistake, but that's why we have these barriers in force in order to stop a mistake from becoming an unsafe aircraft state. So, for example, you forget to switch on the packs, right? The air conditioning packs, the ones that pressurize the aircraft. Could happen. Something you've been de-icing, you've forgotten them, or whatever. You taxi out, you take off. In the after takeoff checklist, you have air conditioning and pressurization. That means that you go up and you check your air conditioning panel, and you immediately see that, oh, we forgot to put the packs on. Right. Let's put them on back now, verify that the pressurization works normally, and you've captured the problem. Still would need a report though. Yeah, you still would have to report that. But there was no danger, you caught it. Then, if you didn't catch it there, you go through the 10 checks. Once again, air conditioning pressurization. Check again, check the pressurization. You should check it again. As in, you should capture it there. And if you haven't captured it there, now you've gone through several checks that should capture it. The next thing now is going to be the altitude warning, and then after that the masks will start falling and you're into a really complicated scenario. So and these things, they do happen, and they happen because people rush, because they rhyme checklists, as in they just pay lip service to them. They don't actually look through them properly. So that's the point I want to make. Like, when you do things, no matter what you do, in whatever area that you're working, make sure that you do it properly, right? Take some extra time to do the things properly, and especially when it comes to checklists, for example, because it's going to be very hard for you when you sit down with your chief pilot afterwards to explain why you missed something as basic as reading a checklist and properly following it. VTF freinds. Why rotating left-right landing lights on the 737? So you mean the blinking? That's actually an optional extra. It's not inserted on our 737s, for example. Some airlines have bought that extra in order for it to scare birds, because solid lights might not be like the birds might not see them. The fact that the lights are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger as you get closer, they might not see. However, it's believed that if you see these blinking lights, that would be kind of registered, oh shit, something is coming, and they would go away, and it would actually minimize the amount of bird strikes that we get, especially during nighttime, but even during daytime. So if that's what you mean by the rotating left and landing lights, that's why it's there. Do you still get an adrenaline rush during takeoff from Naman Gupta? Yeah, as in not adrenaline. It's not, because you get an adrenaline when you feel fear. That's how the body works. If you feel fear, it pumps up your adrenaline, right? It might be temporarily, but no, it's more excitement. In my case, and also focus. As the aircraft starts rolling, you know that if something happens prior to 80 knots, you're gonna have to reject the takeoff. If something happens of a more serious nature after 80 knots, you might have to reject the takeoff. The higher the speed, the less runway you have left, the more energy you have. So you get more and more focused. But of course, that suction, that feeling of adding thrust and really, really like unleashing the beast, is never going to go old. Like it's one of the things that I really, really miss, obviously. 12 Ken, how much aerodynamics does a pilot need to know? You need to know quite a lot of aerodynamics. As in, I don't believe that you necessarily need to by heart be able to calculate your aerodynamic chord, for example. Those are the kind of things you do on your ATPL exams. You need to understand it, though. You need to understand what happens when you just the basics of how an aircraft works, obviously, but anything that has to do with transonic flights, potential supersonic flights, and you have problem with compression, for example, that's part of transonic flights, why you have swept wing aircraft and not straight wing aircraft on faster flights, things like coffin corner, all of these things you have to understand. You might not be able to adequately and mathematically explain it, but you have to understand it. So all of the things that you learn on your ATPL theory has to be there as a foundation in order for you to understand properly. So, Race Double Dawn. That's a great nickname. G'day Mentor. I'm 41, current PPL pilot in New Zealand, hoping to finish CPL within a year. My aim is to fly commercial eventually. Under the current situation, what do you think my chances are? Thank you. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, and it all depends about how your market looks where you live, for example. I don't know exactly how it looks down there. I know that it's tricky. I know that for the next coming 2 years, it's going to be much less traveling. Tourist industry is going to feel the brunt of this. But like I said, and I said it earlier on the stream, I do think that in a few years we are going to be back to some type of normality. We're going to be back up to 2019 levels of flying, which are quite high, to be perfectly honest. So Yeah, I do think that people who trained now have a chance. However, I am not going to lie. It's going to be rough. The next few years are going to be rough. You're going to need to show your resilience. Like if you're out there right now, you're watching this and you're thinking, "What should I do? I've just finished my training and I'm not going to get a job now." Well, then in that case, if that's the case, you continue to look for jobs, but you also look for alternatives. This is what we do. I mean, if I lose my job, now I have I have this. I'm going to be talking to you. I'm going to be inspiring you. I'm going to create cool aviation content. But you might have to go back to something that you've done before. You might have to check with your old employer, see, can you get my job back so that you can pay for whatever loans that you might have taken. Um, you might have to go and work for McDonald's. Like, it's going to suck that. But believe me, when you come to your employment interview in a few years and you have that airline job in reach, they're going to ask you, so how did you bridge this gap? What did you do during downtime? And they want to hear that you have shown resilience. They want to hear that you've taken the steps needed to safeguard yourself, your family, your income, everything. And also that you've kept your knowledge sharp, like that you have been keeping up, going to the simulator every other month, for example. I was really happy. I've talked to OSM Flight Academy the other day, and I talked to them on a regular basis. They asked me, "What do you think? You know, what should we do for the students?" And we talked about just this. Like, I think that the students, if they've done an MCC course, for example, they need to get back into the cockpit at least every 2 months to keep the multi-crew coordination skills sharp. So that's what they've done. They've gone out and told to their students that, listen, we're going to be offering this service to you so you can go in and rotate as much as possible to keep those skills up. You're going to need to do the same. And you're going to need to keep your skills sharp. You're going to need to keep your economy sharp. You're going to need to keep yourself positive and motivated. If you do, when you come to that interview in 2-3 years or in a year and a half or whatever it might take, you're the one who's going to get a job. But if you think that you can sit down and feel sorry for yourself and that anyone else will feel sorry for yourself, then you're wrong, right? It's far too serious. These people are in the business of surviving and safeguarding their own lives. No one will feel sorry for you. So you need to really, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and do what is necessary to bridge this situation, okay? That is really important. And I want to kind of almost finish off with that. All right. If you take one thing away from this, do that. So, Jen Chapman, serious question. Have you ever seen a UFO in the air? On one occasion, I was flying over the Alps, and both me and the captain saw some lights that was glowing yellowish. They were below us. There were two lights flying in tandem, but not like we thought maybe that they could be afterburners of military jets, but they were flying too low and they just disappeared one after the other, at fairly high speed as well. They followed our speed basically. We could not, like, there was nothing on TCAS. I could not explain what it is, neither could the captain do it. I took a picture of them, but obviously darkness, very hard to see. But so that's the closest that I've gotten to something that I saw that I just could not explain. Now, I put UFO in the widest possible. I don't mean man from Mars. I mean something that I could not identify. Now, they weren't a threat to us. They were far away and far